Random House Audio presents The Collected Short Stories of Louis L'Amour, Unabridged Selections from the Frontier Stories, Volume 2, by Louis L'Amour. Read for you by Jason Culp. What Gold Does to a Man. We came up the draw from the south in the spring of '54, and Josh was the one who wanted to stop. Nothing about that country looked good to me, but I was not the one who was calling the shots. Don't get the idea that it was not pretty country, because it surely was. There was a plenty of water, grass, and trees. That spring offered some of the coldest and best water I ever tasted, but I didn't like the look of the country around. There was just too much Indian sign. "Forget it, Pike," Josh Boone said irritably. "For a kid, you sound more like an old woman all the time. Believe me, I know gold country, and this is it. Why should a man go all the way to California when there's gold all around him?" "It may be here," Kenyon grumbled, "but maybe Pike Downey ain't so dumb, even if he is a kid. He's dead right about that Injun sign. If we stick around here, there being no more than the 5 of us, we're apt to get our hair lifted." Kenyon was the only one who thought as I did. The others had gold fever and had it bad, but Kenyon's opinions didn't make me feel any better, because he knew more about Injuns than any of the rest. I'd rather have been wrong and safe. Josh Boone did know gold country. He had been in California when the first strike was made, and I don't mean the one at Sutter's Mill that started all the fuss. I mean the first strike, which was down in a canyon near Los Angeles. Josh had done all right down there, and then when the big strikes came up north, he'd cleaned up some $40,000. Then he rode back east and had himself a time. "Why keep it?" he laughed. "There's more where that came from." Maybe there was, but if I made myself a packet like that, I planned to buy myself a farm and settle down. I even had the place in mind. It was Boone who suggested we ride north away from the trail. "There's mountains yonder," he said, "and I've a mind there's gold. Why ride all the way to California when we might find it right here?" I was ready. Nobody would ever say Pike Downey was slow to look at new country. The horse I rode was the best in the country, and it could walk faster than most horses could trot. It weighed about 1,400, and most of it muscle. It was all horse, that black was, so when we turned off to the hills, I wasn't worried. That came later. Josh Boone was our leader, much as we had one. Then there was Jim Kenyon, German Kruger, and Ed Culp. I was the kid of the bunch, just turned 19, strong as a young bull. Josh had been against me coming along, but Kenyon spoke for me. "He's the best shot I ever did see," he told them, "and he could track a snake upstream in muddy water. That boy will do to take along." Kenyon calling me a boy kind of grated. I'd been man enough to hold my own and do my part since I was 14. My pa and ma had come west from Virginia in a covered wagon, and I was born in that wagon. I'd been hunting since I was knee-high to a short beaver, and the first time I drove a wagon over the Santa Fe Trail, I was just past 14. My rifle drew blood for me in a Comanche attack on that wagon train, and we had 3 more fights before we came up to Santa Fe. Santa Fe was wild and rough, and I had a mix-up with a Comanchero in Santa Fe with knives, and I put him down to stay. The following year I went over the trail again, and then I went to hunting buffalo in Texas. The year after, I went all the way to California, and returning from that trip, I got friendly with some Cheyennes and spent most of a year with them, raiding deep into Mexico. By the time I met Boone, I had 5 years of the roughest kind of living behind me. Boone talked himself mighty big, but he wasn't bigger than me, and neither was Ed Culp. We rode up that draw and found ourselves the prettiest little canyon you'll ever see, and we camped there among the trees. We killed us a deer, and right away Josh went to panning that stream. He found gold from the first pan. Gold, It ran heavy from the first pan, and after that there was no talking to them. We all got to work, but being a loner, I went along upstream by myself. Panning for gold was something I had never done, but all the way back from California that time I'd traveled with one of the best, and he'd filled me to the ears with what was needful to know about placer mining for gold. He told me about trying sandbars and little beaches where the stream curves around and throws up sand in the crook of the elbow. Well, I'd found such a place, and she showed color. Wasting no more time on panning, I got my shovel and started digging down to bedrock. No more than 4 feet down, I struck it. It was cracked here and there, and remembering what that old-timer told me, I cleaned those cracks and went back under the thin layers of rock and panned out what I found. By nightfall, I had a rawhide sack with maybe $300 or $400 in it. All of the boys had gold, but none of them had as much as I showed them, which was less than half what I had. Jim Kenyon was tickled, but it didn't set too well with either Boone or Culp. Neither of them liked to be bested, and in particular they didn't like it from me. Kruger patted me on the back. "Good boy," he said. "Das ist gut." We took turns hunting meat, and next day it fell to me. Mounting up, I took my Sharp's breech loader, and I'd buckled on my spare pistol. I had me 2 Army Colts, model 1848, and I set store by them guns. I'd picked 'em off a dead Texan down east of Santa Fe. That Texas man had run up on some horse thieves and out of luck at the same time. There'd been 4 horse thieves and him, and they had at it, and when I came along some hours later, there they lay, all good dead men with a horse for each and 6 extra. There were their rifles, pistols, and a good bit of grub, and there was no sense in leaving it for the Comanches to pick up or the sand to bury. In the time I'd been packing those 6-shooters, I'd become right handy with them. They were riding my belt that morning when I rode out from camp. Sighting a couple of deer close to camp, I rode around them. I'd no mind to do my killing close by, where we might need the game at some later time. A few miles further away, I fetched me a good-sized buck, skinned him out, and cut us some meat. Down at the stream, I was washing the blood from my hands when I glanced up to see 2 things at once. Only one of them was important at the moment. The first thing I spotted was a full-growed Injun with his bow all drawed back and an arrow aimed at me. Throwing myself to one side, I fetched one of those Colts and triggered me an Injun just as the arrow flicked past my face. He slid down off that river bank and right into the happy hunting grounds, where no doubt some day we'll meet and swap yarns. The other thing I'd glimpsed was upstream just a ways. It was only a glimpse, but I edged along the creek for a better look. Under a ledge of rock, just above the water, was a hole. It was about crawling into size, and it didn't smell of animal, so I crawled in and stood up. It was a big cave, a room maybe 20 feet long by 15 wide, with a solid-packed sandy floor and a smidgen of light from above. Looking up, I could see a tangle of branches over a hole, which was a couple of feet across, but well hidden by brush. When I rode into camp to unload my meat, I told the boys about my Injun. "I caved the bank over him," I said, "but they will most likely find him. Then they'll come hunting us." "One more and one less," Culp said. "A dead Injun is a good Injun." "A dead Injun is the start of trouble," I said. "We'd better light out of here if we want to keep our hair." "Are you crazy?" Boone stared at me. "With all the gold we're finding?" "We don't need to leave the country," I protested. "But what does gold mean to a dead man?" "The boy's right," Kenyon agreed. "We're in for trouble." "We can handle trouble," Culp said. "I ain't afeard of no Injuns. Anyway, this just sounds like Pike talking big. I'll bet he never saw no Injun." Well, I put down the meat I was eating and licked my fingers. Then I got up and looked across the fire at him. "You called me a liar, Ed," I said, mild-like. I take that from no man. He stared at me like he couldn't believe what he was hearing.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?